Today I'm going to share with you my new open source filament pelletizer that you can use to recycle filament, the excellent threaded insert press I used to make it, and how buying it can help a maker that we're all in debt to. I feel very mixed about this video. On one hand, I'm so excited to share a new open source design I've been working on. I just wish it was in better circumstances. Let me explain. This is a YouTube channel of Naomi Wu, also known as the Sexy Cyborg. She's based in China, has been on YouTube for around 7 years, and in that time has amassed over 1.6 million subscribers. Naomi is a talented and experienced maker, covering topics like 3D printing, laser cutting, CNC milling, electronics and robotics, and she also has a range of consumer electronics reviews. Naomi has also shone a light on her local culture, giving Westerners an insight as to what it's like to live in China, as well as showing the human side of Chinese manufacturing, which is unfortunately quite often overlooked. But Naomi is much more than just a popular YouTuber. She is a maker who uses her influence for good and is a champion of open source and integrity. Naomi used to be an ambassador for Creality, reviewing many of their printers on her channel. But rather than just provide them with publicity, she managed to convince them to make the Ender 3 open source in accordance with the licenses of the printers that Creality took heavy inspiration from. And credit to Creality, after Naomi planted that seed, for continuing to publish much of their source code for hardware and software on GitHub. And when Naomi convinced Creality to bring the CR30 belt printer to life, as I covered in my video at the time, she once again convinced Creality to do the right thing, not only giving credit to those who had previously developed similar ideas, but also bringing them on board to collaborate. And in that same video, when I offered constructive criticism of some aspects I didn't like, she didn't complain, she didn't make excuses, she just used her influence to improve the product for the customer. On a personal note, you might remember this video of mine from a few years ago. Long story short, despite me jumping through many hoops and recommendations, the product just did not work as advertised. When I released my video, the owner of the company tried to threaten me, then bribe me, and then publicly tell everyone he was going to sue me. At the time, this was incredibly stressful for me and my family, but it was Naomi Wu to the rescue again, who learnt of the situation, stepped in, and applied pressure until the truth came out. This not only ensured that the video stayed public, but it also made sure that all of the facts came out, including a full timeline of the events. I'd like to emphasize that Naomi had nothing to gain by helping me or by helping others by pushing open source in China. She simply did it because it was the right thing to do. But now she needs our help. A few months ago, I came across this video by Rebecca Watson on Naomi Wu's current situation. In this video, Rebecca points out that once again, Naomi Wu has been putting others first by drawing the public's attention to a critical security vulnerability that allowed network eavesdroppers to decipher exactly what you're typing in to your computer or phone's keyboard. Her reward for looking out for other people was a heavy-handed visit by the authorities. The result of this threat is that Naomi cannot really post on social media anymore. This is a significant threat to her livelihood, but to protect herself and her loved ones, she doesn't really have any choice. And honestly, this is just a horrific situation. In that communication, she does mention concentrating on her store, which is called Cybernightmarket and can be found at Cybernightmarket.com. On the store, she has a range of electronics, such as these UVC lights, which is designed as a germicide to cleanse the air around you. She also has some really cool products like this folding axe, but the one we're going to be testing today is this heat set insert press. I was hoping to pay for this myself, but Naomi, being Naomi, sent it for free anyway. I will still be honest and transparent, adhering to my review policy. All I ask is that if you can afford it and perhaps you're in the market for such a tool, you consider buying one from Naomi to help her out. Let's test it out with this project. I'm sure there's plenty of people in the same boat as me who have lots of short lengths of filament spare, whether they be the end of spools or little sample rolls like this here. Some of these are quite old and have become very brittle, and yes, it's true, I could put them in my dehydrator. It's probably not worth it considering how little I'll be able to print with them afterwards. Sometimes I end up with a roll of filament that's tangled beyond recognition, and I've spent far too long trying to fix this, as you can see, without any success. Personally, I've also invested in a filament extruder. I've had it for a year but only made one roll. This roll was very consistent in diameter, but the diameter was too small because I hadn't calibrated the machine yet. Therefore, I'm looking to turn all of this filament, as well as this undersized roll, back into small little segments so I can run it back through the extruder. But even if you don't have your own filament extruder, I showed in a recent video that for a couple of $100, you can set up a clothing heat press to convert small bits of plastic into beautiful recycled flat sheets. Therefore, in my opinion, a filament pelletizer is quite a handy tool to have, and I started my search by looking at existing designs online. I wanted something quick and simple, so originally went for this version by Buster Beagle 3D. What I really like about this one is that it's a single piece, and you only need 2 skateboard bearings in terms of hardware. One slots in on the end, the other from the side, and then we take an 8mm drill bit and pass it through the middle. We now put the drill bit into the drill, and when we turn it, the sharp edge of the drill bit's flute becomes the cutter to pelletize the filament. Great on paper, so how does it work in person? Well, as you're about to see, it didn't go so hot the first time. So I imported the STL into Onshape and added on a base and collection shroud, complete with a TPU section to attach a bottle to. This was a good fit, but the two pieces just rest against each other, which is why they were designed to be clamped down onto the edge of a workbench prior to operation. When I tried it out, there was an improvement and I was able to get some chips as I pushed the filament through. However, unless the filament was old and brittle, the drill bit wasn't quite sharp enough to cut the edge of the filament, kind of grinding bits off instead of making a clean cut. So I started looking at some other designs. I really liked the ones that had self-feeding, but I didn't like the idea of running separate electronics for a stepper motor. This one perhaps looked more functional with a different type of cutter, but again, separate electronics was not something I was interested in, and I also wanted a much cleaner collection system, and I think covering over the dangerous bit was probably a good idea too. So I was going to have to design my own pelletizer, and my aims were clear. The sharp bits had to be enclosed, I wanted it to collect the pellets neatly, be self-feeding, however only use one power source, no extra electronics, take any diameter filament, and be assembled using threaded inserts. And after a fair bit of time in CAD, I'm pretty sure I've achieved all of that. Just a quick overview for now, but I use a 19mm router bit as the cutting blade, and then a series of gears off this shaft to turn a hobbed gear to feed in the filament without any electronics. So as well as the printed parts that all print without support material, there's still a range of other hardware that you'll need to build this. A detailed list can be found on printables, but here are the main ones. We have a 19mm router bit with a 1/4 inch shank. If you can get one with the bearing included, then do so. We won't need the little grub screw collar that comes with it, but we will need the R4AZ bearing. In fact, we'll need a second one. We'll need a series of smaller 5mm internal ball bearings too, but the other key ingredient is a hobbed gear like you'd find in an old 3D printer extruder. Either of these designs is suitable to use. The other thing you'll need are threaded inserts, and these are cheapies from eBay and I wouldn't recommend them. Naomi has links to much better ones on the shop page for her heat press. Let's come back to that heat press and quickly unbox it and put it together. The manual is concise but contained everything I needed to successfully identify the components and assemble. In terms of the pieces, there's 2 major sub-assemblies, therefore I'd class this as partially assembled already. To join these 2 halves together, the 6 bolts that come in from the top. We then have a series of small handles that get bolted on before the heater element is inserted from underneath and the locking nut tightened. We stick some adhesive backed rubber feet on the bottom and connect up the single cable between the control box and the top of the heating element. Pretty easy, and all up takes somewhere around 5 to 10 minutes. So how do you use this thing? Well, Naomi has her own dedicated video on her channel that goes through how to set it up and what temperatures and settings required for best results, and I found this spot on. Firstly, we insert a tip to suit the size of insert we're using, in our case M3. Then we turn on the controller and set the temperature to 300. Naomi explains that this is a great temperature for multiple filaments, and I have to say it was perfect for me. It takes less than 30 seconds for that temperature to be reached, and then it stays there rock solid. You can add or remove rubber bands to the stack to control the amount of pressure that pushes downwards to melt the insert in, and this is one of the best parts of the design. We have a dial on top that works like a 3D printer's Z-axis and allows us to wind the heater mechanism up or down to match the height of the object. So we're going to start with the center plate, which is 10mm thick and takes an M3 by 10mm insert. We'll wind the tip of the heater down until the wider section is more or less in line with the top surface. We'll then use the handle to lift the heater tip upwards, place the threaded insert, and then allow the elastic bands to push down evenly. If it looks slow, that's because it's meant to be. You're looking for 10 to 15 seconds as the sweet spot, This one was perhaps a little bit too slow, so you could add another rubber band to the stack to increase the downwards pushing force. Once the insert is melted the whole way in, we simply lift up and inspect the successful result. Previously, I used to do this with a soldering iron, and I would push it either crooked or down too fast, but we can see here that it's completely controlled and even hands-free. All I need to do is hold the printed part as the insert is pushed in. Because of that smooth, uniform insertion, I would say this thing is actually quite satisfying to use. And unlike my soldering iron, which had a tapered tip and sometimes got stuck in the insert, partially pulling it out, the tip on this heater releases vertically without catching, always leaving a great result. And because you can wind and set the finishing height before you start putting in the insert, you can dedicate both of your hands to holding tricky objects completely level. The trickiest on this design being 2 inserts going in for grub screws on the smallest gear. I set the depth and then could dedicate both hands to holding the gear perpendicular. Honestly, this heat press machine made this job really easy. The machine also came with all required tools, some sample threaded inserts, and a range of spares, including a whole new heater cartridge. In fact, my only complaint is that one segment of the display seemed to be dead on arrival. Beyond that, everything worked exactly as advertised. Based on my testing, if you're using threaded inserts with any kind of volume, this machine will make it more reliable and repeatable. We're up to assembly, but this video is getting a little bit too long, so to keep it concise, but still provide the relevant step-by-step detail, I've made a separate assembly video which I've linked in the description and on printables. For this video, let's fast forward to the completed version. Initial performance of the pelletizer was a little bit problematic, but that does highlight one of the benefits of designing with threaded inserts. And that's that when you iterate the design to improve it, it's very easy to swap in the new parts because disassembly and then reassembly is so straightforward. The first problem I experienced is that the filament wasn't staying centered as it arrived at the router bit, so I redesigned spacer C, adding these large sections to guide the filament towards the center. And due to the design, it was very easy to slot this replacement part in. The other problem is that there was too much space between the printed guide and the actual cutter. Sometimes this made the pellets far too long, but for filament that wasn't that brittle, this flaw prevented the cutter from slicing the whole way through, instead segmenting the filament as you see here. To fix this, I extended the lip out on the bottom spacer so that it was much closer to the tip of the blade. Therefore, the filament shouldn't be able to bend around this corner and should be cut more reliably. And these two changes really did the trick. Filament that didn't go properly through the first time was pelletized cleanly the second time round. By far my favorite part of the design is the geared gripper that self-feeds the filament. You should run the drill at maximum speed and that will feed in the filament at a steady rate, and because all of the dangerous parts are hidden, this system is quite easy to manage. And perhaps most importantly, the filament pellets are small and uniform in size, meaning they won't clog up any of my recycling machines. I hope you enjoy using my new pelletizer, and I look forward to sharing my results in making my own filament using this as well as waste prints in a future video. As for this heat press tool, it's easy enough to use that I think in future I'll be designing with threaded inserts more often. If you use threaded inserts when you're designing, consider purchasing it to upgrade your workflow. And if you do, you will be helping out Naomi Wu, who really deserves it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy 3D printing. G'day, it's Michael again. If you liked the video, then please click like. If you want to see more content like this in future, click subscribe and make sure you click on the bell to receive every notification. If you really want to support the channel and see exclusive content, become a patron. Visit my Patreon page. See you next time.